Can you talk about fear? This user asked, I feel like for some reason, I'm really afraid sometimes of death, losing people, and especially all the scary movies out there. I know I've read so many times in Gurbani that when you meditate, or when you're in a meditative state, that all your fears are expelled. But sometimes I don't know how to stop being afraid. And is there something I can do to help with this?
Well, there's something very specific. Particularly the Bani of Guru Gobind Singh has the power to overcome fear. The beautiful rhythm of Jap Sahib. How many people have done that bowing Jap Sahib? Yeah, you've done that? That bowing Jap Sahib? No Mustang Kale, no Mustang Wale. You put your head down and come up. You go into that rhythm, and you can't be afraid when you do that. It has the most beautiful rhythm to it. So in a practical sense, there are things you can do to overcome fear. But ultimately, fear comes from insecurity. It comes from a lack of trust. If you feel that you are merged into God with each breath you take, and then God lives inside of you, and that you are part of God and God is part of you, what is there to be afraid of? What's the worst thing that could happen? That you would die? So die in every moment. Die with each breath. Die every night when you go to sleep. Be present with death. Love death. Embrace death. Understand that death and birth are two sides of the same coin, and that's part of life. You can't have life without death. If you have a fear, a fundamental fear that something is going to hurt you or something is going to kill you, that fear ultimately comes from a lack of trust and a lack of awareness of who you are. So you can easily overcome it. You have to awaken yourself. You have to merge yourself. So face fear. Don't just look at your fear like it's an object and I have this fear and it's inside of me, But understand that your fear comes from that you're afraid to go deeper. Because when you go deeper, fear leaves you. When you're on the surface, then fear can push you around. So use your own breath, use your own meditation to take yourself deeper and confront your own fears and confront your own ego and understand the root of it. Because it doesn't matter what you do, unless you get to the root of it, you won't get rid of it. But I must say, if you don't know what else to do, start with the Bani of Guru Gobind Singh, because that's the best thing to cut through fear.
It makes me remember, I remember Shantikar talking about telling some stories of Guru Gobind Singh and how Guru Gobind Singh talking to the Sikhs and basically saying, your time is here, you have this time, and when you're going to go, you're going to go. So why be afraid? If you're not supposed to die today, then you're not going to die today. Just whatever you're going to do. So, and that attitude of just leaving, like God was going to, when you're supposed to go, you're going to go, gave this courage of fearlessness to basically just be able to go and just be so fearless.
The problem, this person who wrote this question, the problem with them is not fear. The problem is that they're obsessed with their own fear. They identify with it. They feel that I am a fearful person. That's who I am. See, they believe in their fear. That's the problem. Fear doesn't exist if you don't acknowledge the fact that you have identified with that fear. Then otherwise, what can there be to be afraid of? That you're going to die, like you said? That you're going to get sick? That you're going to get old and be lonely? But that's all just a fantasy.
Well, there's other types of fears as well. I just think of, I know when I was a kid in India, we, horror movies were they were the in thing back then. And I remember many times there were on holidays, a bunch of the kids we'd have movie marathons and there were quite a few horror movies that really rocked my consciousness. And every time I would run we're on the side of a mountain and, it wasn't totally lit up. So I would be running for dear life. all kinds of monsters or all whatever things were chasing after me, I was afraid.
But that's the thrill of fear. That's a different thing. Why do you watch the horror movies? Because there's a fascination and a thrill with being scared, because you get an adrenaline rush from it. So you get a kick from it, right? You know, that's a different kind of fear that you're describing than this person is describing, that they're afraid of ghosts or spirits or something's going to get them. Yeah, Alessandra asked about deep-seated irrational fears. My wife had a fear that she would forget the baby at the market, like drive away and leave the baby somewhere. And she never drove away and left the baby anywhere, but there was this constant moment where, did I forget? Did I forget? And Alessandra just talked about fear of her parents dying. I knew a woman, I still do, who is really afraid of birds. If a bird comes near her, you know, she shies away and covers her face like this with her hands. And a lot of these fears, as Alessandra pointed out, are samskars that come from a previous life experience. The woman who's afraid of birds, she remembered, she had a memory of being wounded on a battlefield and having a bird literally pick her eyes out of her head while she was dying. Watching your parents be killed in front of you or die in front of you or be in an accident produces a samskar, an imprint that gets carried between lifetimes. So there are a lot of deep subconscious fears that manifest that are real, but if you look at them rationally, you say, well, there's no basis for me to be afraid, yet I'm still afraid of this. Those are the kind of deep imprints that you have to cleanse out of yourself through. That's why people do things like white tantric yoga, meditation. You consciously work to cleanse these things from the subconscious. So it takes a certain amount of work on yourself to clear the power of these samskaras over you in this lifetime.